All right, we are recording. Welcome. I'm here with Heather, and this is an Innerglowing live recording, and we're looking at Heather's design today, and she's totally new to design. So, and I'm new to guiding this way. Heather and I know each other just a little bit from online, and so the guidance I'm getting is, yeah, we're just showing up empty and seeing what comes through. There's so much information, and I know you're a transformational coach, right, Heather?
Yeah, I do coaching and combine it with the body code, which is a form of energy healing.
That's right. That's right. And you and I have another conversation to have about, like, I want to check out the body code stuff. So cool. And I'm so much about the body too. So I think this will be really fun to play with you in this space. So I just have a couple of caveats about sharing about human design and working with me. There are lifetimes of information in your human design chart. And often it's not really the information, right? That's like what we want or what we need to be told anything. So I'm very much like holding, that whatever is here to come through for you is here. And you don't need to force that in any way. I would like to set the space a little bit more. And I have some other caveats, but first I want to check in with you and see, what drew you to have this session, to like sit with me with something you don't know anything about? Like, was there a feeling? Was there a thought or desire?
Yeah, one of my clients had said she'd gotten her chart done by I don't know who, right? But and it was the first time that I had heard of it, and I love, like, I got certified in DISC stuff when I was in my 20s, which is a form of personality stuff. So I've always been super interested in any kind of like understanding patterns and that kind of stuff. So when she had said that she had done a session, I was like, oh, I'd love to learn more about that, because I love having resources, to refer my clients to, because I don't have everything. I don't have everything. And then I heard that you did it, so I was like, oh, well, that would be this way I have a good resource, to be able to send to clients, but I don't like referring them to something that I've never done.
Yeah.
That, I need to experience it myself first.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. That's a good transformational coach. Awesome. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what I love about human design is that it has a personality side, and that's what most of the systems are. They're personality based. Mm-hmm. So in design, oh good, we are recording. In design, and I'll just bring up your chart at this point, actually, so that we can reference looking at that.
And I don't know, I guess I didn't think about this question until you just said this. Like, I've had like birth charts done, and astrocartography done. They weren't so fantastic. Like, I was like, oh, I think I might need to go kill myself. Like, it was pretty depressing.
Really? What about it was
like, basically you're gonna be single your entire life, and I was like,
yeah,
okay, well, that's great. So that's, that I don't know how this differs from doing like a birth chart.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And so is that something that you're curious to look at through the lens of design, about being in relation to other people?
Sure.
Yeah. I think it's really good for that, to understand how your aura interacts with other auras. So, like I was saying, there's a personality side and there's a design side. The personality is conscious, the design is unconscious. So you actually have two sets of numbers. The conscious comes from your birth date,
Right.
time and place. And that's like what, I don't know very much about astrology myself. It is woven into human design.
Right.
But that's basically the activations when you're born. But there's another set, and these are 88, this is 88 days before you were born. So it's actually your first imprint. Like you're like, okay, I'm on earth on a new level when you're in the womb. And that is the body. And I mean, well, and together it's the body. So that's what I love about human design, is it actually addresses the way your energy operates in your body. Which a lot of systems, like however like accurate they are, they're just working with the personality side, which is what the mind can see. And being like highly adaptable and prone to survival, with the conditioning that we're coming from, that can really not be helpful. So I'm going to pull up your chart right now. You see there? Okay. So this is what I was talking about here along the black is your personality, your conscious side coming from your birth date. And the red is the unconscious design side. And those correspond, so you see the numbers here, these are the gates, which correspond with the I Ching, match up with, like, so you've got gate 11 here. I don't know why I'm pointing at that. I have it too. I love gate 11. Corresponds with the body graph. So you have a conscious and an unconscious activation in your gate 11. So I'm just going to breathe and pause here and just feel into, because I want to give you a foundation of information. And then I just want to kind of like let go and see what comes through. And I want to share some things that are going to be helpful for you in your desire for a partnership. So right here, the foundation of anything in design is going to be based on your definition, what's called definition, and your strategy and your authority. So definition is when you look at your chart and you've got the colored in shapes, these are like chakras. And I happen to have a chakra banner behind me. There's 9 of them though, not 7. We've actually had an upgrade in the late 1700s to being 9-centered beings. But we're still very much operating like 7-centered beings. That's the conditioning we're trying to overcome. We are overcoming. So what it means when it's colored in, it's called defined, and it means that you have your energy operates in a consistent way for that flavor of energy. This is the emotions, this is a root pressure, this is your sacral, which makes you a generator type. This is work, life force, very powerful center. This is very powerful center too. And this is direction, identity. It's called the G center. And then the throat is communication, manifestation. In fact, all of the energies in the body graph are trying to get to the throat, which is where the point of manifestation. I actually have an undefined throat. So when it's undefined, what that means is that you don't have a consistent experience of that energy. And when you do experience it, it will be when you're either in the aura of someone who has it consistently, or there's a transit going on that activates that. So it's like in astrology when it's like, oh, the blah, blah, blah planet is in the blah, blah, blah house. And so we're all kind of experiencing that at that time. But there are people who carry that because of their birth imprint.
So when you say the undesigned is the ones that are not colored in? The undefined.
Undefined, or you'll also hear them called open.
That's when they're not colored in.
Yeah, when they're not colored in. So then you are a generator type. You're actually called a manifesting generator. So first I'm going to talk a little bit about the generator type in general, because there's like pure generators and there's manifesting generators. Generator, the sacral center is such a big deal. It is life force itself. You are creating a life force frequency. So this has to do with, like I said before, work, sex, having babies, a creation on like a deeper level, not like the manifestation kind of. I'm not actually prepared to go into that right now, but it's like a renewable battery. And it's also here for satisfaction. So what it does is it creates this, like, you have a magnetic aura that draws life to you because you are life. There's that like attracts like. And when something comes in and it touches your sacral, because you have a permeable, attractive, magnetic aura, your sacral will respond based on if something is satisfying for your life force or not. And what that's saying is, like, if it's for you, it will have an like a kind of cave woman sound that you may hear or you may make, or both. No story, no full sentences. It'll say, and that means I have energy for that, for my satisfaction. Or it'll say like some version of like, that's not for me. I don't have energy for that. That's not satisfying. That's frustration. So that's what your not self theme is, frustration. And that is a great guiding force, as well as satisfaction, because it tells you, like, oh, that just isn't for me. And the mind can have a hard time with that. A lot of times the mind is conditioned to argue and try to bypass that, that sacral response, because it doesn't understand it. But when generators get really into their sacral, like, it's this just full trust and surrender into that feeling. There's one other mode of the sacral, and that is just nothing, which means wait. So the strategy for a generator type is to wait to respond. So everything, like, ideally is from a response. And if you don't have a response, there's nothing to do. Sort of the blessing and the curse of being a generator type is that you are so powerful that you can go against yourself.
Yeah.
And operate in like high levels of frustration for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, really, human design, I think, is such a gift to the planet for this reason, because the conditioning for generators has been to be like slaves, to use their life force against what's satisfying for them. And it's time for generators to be satisfied. I'm getting chills. Like, you are such a juicy being, and you are actually creating the life force frequency of this planet. Like, what you do with your life force has a really big ripple in the world. So thank you. There's another layer of this, but I just want to pause and check in with you. Is there anything up for you right now?
No, I mean, I think, like, again, like, understanding the big picture and then narrowing down. Like, I'm still like, I don't totally. Yeah, I just need more information to totally.
Does what I said resonate with you in any ways?
Sometimes, like, I don't really feel like I'm the best manifester. So and I think I tend to be more of an introvert, but I know that I have a huge impact on people. So in that way, yes. Yeah.
Would you be open to doing a little experiment with me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'd be guiding you a little bit. Is that okay? All right. Okay, so close your eyes. I'm feeling your breath. Well, I'm just going to say hello to the space here, that this is 100% space for your highest and best, for whatever is here to be released, whatever is here to be received. And for whoever is watching, seen and unseen, in bodies and not in bodies, only those who are truly meant for this may even know of it and see it. They are on board with this 100% space for Heather's highest and best. And I have some guides on, they're kind of custodians of this space. So they've got us here. All right, Heather, so go ahead and drop your breath down into your womb space. This is your sacral area. And literally allowing your breath to expand into your belly really gently. You don't have to like force it really big, just kind of caressing it and coaxing it to take up a little more space on the inhales and the exhales. And then gently just let your awareness from your womb space expand out, diffusing to your whole body. A gentle pink mist. Listening and feeling. Just asking your body a question and just let yourself just continue to bathe in that pink mist radiating through you. Do you have a powerful life force? So what did you notice with that question? I saw your head nod.
Yeah. I was just kind of like, oh, heck yeah.
Uh-huh. What sensations do you notice?
Well, so I have to kind of tell a backstory. In what was it, January of 2018, I went to Rhythmia, which is a place in Costa Rica. It's the only medically licensed place where you can do ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm.
During one of my ceremonies, are you familiar with ayahuasca?
Yeah, I've done 11 ceremonies.
Yeah. So during one of my ceremonies, like nothing was happening. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to get up and go to the bathroom, you know. And I've done plenty of ceremonies, you know. So I'm just going to go to the bathroom. As soon as I got into the bathroom, I was like, oh, bucket. And, you know, I grabbed the bucket and I was like, oh, and I started throwing up. And it was like, with each throw up, I felt like this like huge opening, and it was like this firework, and it was like this pop, and I felt like I was down tube, like almost like a water slide, you know, when I was being shot down this tube, and I felt like I was giving birth and being birthed all at the same time. And then I threw up again and again, this other bright light, and it was like, and it was weird because even though it was here, like my sacral area, like it was a red light, which I was like, you know, which I know is the root, but I knew that it was that. It was like all of this just like boom opened up, like it was. And then the second vomit was the one right below it, and so it was like it was very powerful, and it was really powerful. And then later I was like, you know, I puked, and then I was like, okay, I'm good. I went out, and one of the helpers, she just like held me and like, you know, just to like nurture me. And then I went to bed and went to sleep, and then woke up a little bit later, and just got a very clear message that I'd gotten merged back. Like they talk about there, like getting merged back with your soul. Um, and that's like, and it was like, I lost a child when I was younger, and it was, the baby didn't have a brain. And the message I got was like, you know, she didn't have a brain because all we need is our heart. Like if we have our heart, like you know, we're good. And it was like that giving birth and being birthed. It was like this merging back with her. Like, it's like, it makes complete sense inside of me, you know?
Yeah, it makes sense to me, and I feel it in my body like so strong right now.
So all that to say, like, was that feeling? And it's like, oh, it's just that feeling of like, just that openness that happened then. That's what I feel when I connect to that. Like,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's big. Yeah.
So I have another question for you. On a really fundamental level,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything else to know about yourself?
For me to know about myself? I mean, I'm sure there's a ton.
So I want to invite you to close your eyes and come back. If you know this life force, how about I'll try some other questions.
Mm-hmm.
Can you trust this life force?
There's a part that's like, meh.
Okay, just breathe a little deeper into your womb. Is this life force for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Does she know the way for you?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I felt that. I felt that, mm-hmm. So you can stay in this space as we continue our conversation. You can keep a foot in. You can
Mm-hmm.
close your eyes anytime.
Okay.
This is the foundation of your guidance.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to bring up your chart again. So Let's just look at the colors. Not the colors themselves, but where it's colored in.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at this central column, all connected.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All connected to each other with this really powerful emotional motor, just FYI.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like an auxiliary power source over here. And then look at this.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Well, you do not have a consistent active brain.
It's so interesting because I feel like there's always this battle between my head and my heart. And I have a friend who's like really big in the Enneagram and astrology and stuff. And she's like, oh, you're an Aquarius. Like you're always fighting with your head and your heart. And in the Enneagram, it's like a lot of heady stuff, which I find sometimes. So, yeah. So what does that mean? How does that tie into this?
So this view is like, it's like this. Like if this is the view you just described, like this one just kind of goes. It's a different way of perceiving what's going on. I've noticed a lot of astrology can actually be describing the not self in design. So the not self is when you are picking up the frequencies in the areas where you're undefined and you're thinking that they're yours and trying to make decisions from them. So perhaps the greatest thing that design can give you is guidance on how to experiment with it. It can point you in the direction of where your true power is and how to make decisions for who you are. So you are someone who picks up other people's thoughts and questions and conceptualizations.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have this defined, and I have had a lot of people in my life with this, similar to you, and they literally can pluck thoughts out of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had that experience with people? Like you just like know what they're thinking?
A lot of times, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So other people are in your head.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a reliable source of guidance for you. However, if you become aware, the more and more aware you are that what goes through here is just like a circus of information, then you can become very wise in this area, and you actually can help people like me who have defined head and ajnas. But unless if you're thinking that it's you, you're lost, because what is you is this powerful life force that we both just experienced.
Right.
And she does not need to know.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to explain herself to your head or anyone else's head. Now, it can help sometimes to have a little information to cool the head off, but it also cannot help at all. It also can make it worse, because once the mind gets a hold of something, it's going to try to adapt to keep control.
Right.
Does that make sense to you in your
Yeah.
experience?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So
like intuition has always been, like, as far as I remember, like very strong. And the times when I've like overridden it with, logical stuff, like looking back, it's always like, you knew, you should have just listened to your gut in the first place.
Yeah. So you also you have your other two centers that are undefined are also can be really distracting in that way. I think gut might be a more like, so, okay, this center is about intuition, survival, and immune system. This is called the splenic center.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets a little tricky with semantics to say, well, it's not like you don't have intuition consistent,
Mm-hmm.
because you have like a lot of consistent guts going on for sure. you have feelings, you have life force, you know, you have direction, you have this kind of drive, root pressure going on that's consistent, and all this is guiding you very, very powerfully. However, other people's intuition can throw you off. Other people's immune systems can throw you off. This often the greatest healers have this undefined, as you do.
Mm-hmm.
And the not self theme for this center is not letting go of what isn't good for you. There can be a tendency, there's a kind of a in the not self, when you're picking up other people's immune systems and their intuitive guidance, it can feel just like you're safe with someone like that, even when you are not. It can be kind of like in the not self, and I keep saying that because it's just one side of it, right? Like there is like, it doesn't have to be that way, but there's heavy conditioning on the planet for the not self.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that you're like doing anything wrong exactly. Like it's just as we are adults coming to this information and, you know, releasing like what we have been told we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be pretty codependent. It can be hooking into, and I have a pretty codependent conditioned past, and I have this defined. So, but it can definitely be prone to getting into like addictive relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Because like you can feel that solidness of that person's spleen in your body, and you know, your mind can think that you need it. And even if that person is hurting you in some way, like hold on to it longer than is good for you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then this center is actually the heart, like the heart organ center. So it's called the heart center, or also the ego. It has to do with willpower and competition and proving oneself and making promises. I have it defined and you do not. So where this can hook you is trying to prove your worth, making promises that are not, like, you can make promises, but if you're not doing it from here, if you're doing it from here, then you're going to be in frustration zone. So that's where the frustration, not self theme, will tell you, like, cue you, like, oh, where am I, you know, trying to prove my worth, making promises, you know, holding on to something that's not good for me, thinking about things that don't matter to me. And then to drop back into this central column for you. When you went in to feel, when you like dropped in with that question of, do you have a powerful life force?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful story came through about your ayahuasca experience. Like, you did that so naturally. Did you have that experience of yourself once you dropped in?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel unnatural.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to me like it just, like, once that question came, like the right question came through, it was just like this kind of wellspring was released.
Mm-hmm.
And you even had that in your story that's like,
right. So that heart, I think I'm a little confused. Like when it's more defined, is that more somebody who tends to, like, that people may describe as like independent and like not needing other people? Like they tend to be more Yeah, I guess independent would be the right word.
Mm.
I don't know if that's the right word.
I mean, there are many other factors in a design that I could answer that through as well. I mean, for one thing, you could maybe feel into my energy right now and like how it's registering in your body. The main keynote that comes up for me, like when I'm feeling into myself and other people who have defined egos, is that there's like this solidness to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's this just kind of like confidence maybe, but I mean, a lot of undefined egos have confidence issues too. But the frequency feels off when they do.
When it's defined?
Yeah, when it's defined and they're like really caught up in like, oh, I don't know if I'm like good enough and stuff. Like when I'm really being clean with that center, I just don't even get caught up in it. It's just, I'm just kind of solid. The thing about it, like, I actually have something to prove. Having a defined ego. You don't have anything. I do have something to prove.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's actually correct for me. It also is a push. It's like a power to push. Now, it doesn't mean that I always use it correctly. I definitely can get caught up in using that power that I have consistently to try to push, because the energy of the center is more like not on all the time. Mm-hmm. So when you don't have it, like, I mean, how does this feel? Heather, you don't have anything to prove in this life.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah. Does it feel kind of like a relief?
Well, I mean, it's not a relief only because it's like, yeah, well, of course I don't. Like, wasn't like I ever felt like I needed to have something, like felt like I needed something to prove. And then I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I've always kind of been like, meh. But there are like, and right now I'm like working through some beliefs that are like, I don't have any value to bring. And, that's why I'm single, is because I have no value to bring. And, business wise, which I know I bring a ton of value, but there's still some trapped things, some things that are trapped inside of me that are keep running this pattern of like, I don't bring a lot of value, but it's not, I don't feel like I have anything to prove. It's a weird thing. It's not that I don't have anything to prove, because I'm like, I don't have anything to prove. Like, I don't need things to prove I am. I'm like, this is me. That's it. So I don't know if they're like two different things that are at play there. Like, as a whole human, I don't have anything to prove.
Yeah. Yeah. And I saw that post you did about worth, that beautiful, long, and I'm, so as I said, with the head and ajna center, like when you become aware that it's not yours, then you have the opportunity to become very wise in that area. And that what you learn from tasting all those energies in other people and knowing, oh, that's like not mine to hold on to, or I can experience it and I can play with it, but it's not my guidance. That applies here too. And I would say that post you did about worth is starting to tap into that wisdom of the center. That's really beautiful. And, a lot of, I would say, like, a lot of people that I talk to when I ask them that question who have an undefined ego center have a hard time with that, like they don't have something to prove. Right. So that's really like, congratulations. You're like, yeah, cool. So it may be that I can share some things about that might help you, give you some direction on the relationship and the business stuff, so that your mind stops looking to the worth, because it sounds like you're on your way in to be wise in that center. Mm-hmm. That maybe if your mind knows some of this stuff, it'll just keep it from like touching the tar baby, as my coach Kendra calls it. Would you like to hear some things about you in relationship to others?
Yep.
Okay. So you have what's called single definition. And what this means is that all of the centers that you have defined are all connected to each other. Mm-hmm. That's not the case for everybody.
Mhm.
Like, a lot of people have split definition, which means there's like if you didn't have a connection right here, like if you didn't have gate 2, then you
Uh-huh.
would have an island here and an island here of definition that
Uh-huh.
are not talking to each other
Mhm.
consistently. So, and I actually have 3 islands. I'm triple split, and there's one other that has, it's quadruple split. And I don't even know, I don't know anybody with quadruple split. People who have split definition are in a way like the relationship people.
Mhm.
They have this drive to become whole,
Right.
for someone to bridge their definitions.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean that they're the only ones who get to be in a relationship. And it
Right.
doesn't even mean that they need to be bridged. They do not. That is often the not self mind reaching for that connection.
Hmm.
So, it comes up in design because, we can do composite charts and look at you with other people and, what goes on when two auras come together. And people often say, like, oh, what kind of person should I be with? Or what do I need? That's not what this is for.
Hmm.
There's no way really to know what's good for you. The only way to know is to be in touch with that sacral energy. And there's also the other layer of your emotional authority, which I don't know if we'll talk about it today. But essentially, if you like keep committing to feeling what you felt with me a little bit ago and experimenting with listening to that and moving from there, from response, like you will be well on your way. And in relation to other people, like that will guide you if someone's for you or not.
Right.
The thing that can be hard about being a single definition is that you are actually complete unto yourself in a way.
Right.
So that can be unnerving
Hmm.
for people, other people in relationship with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that it's like they can sense you don't really need them.
Yeah.
And so much of our conditioning in relationship is based on that, right?
Yeah.
So, but you are hardwired for networks.
Yeah. For sure.
And like any opportunities for anything, work, where you live, who you love, like is gonna to be correct for you, it's gonna need to come through a network of yours, like friends, family, work, some way that you're already, you know, hooked in. Like our coach Allison Crow is it's the 4th line here, which is on your design side. It's called an opportunist. She's an opportunist on her personality side. She's like conscious of it. And the funny thing about yours is that you are, and I have a lot of 2/4s come to me. So you're a hermit. The 2 is the hermit opportunist.
Hmm.
Because our profiles are harmonic. I'm called a heretical investigator, just for kicks. We're not going to go into that right now. But um, so isn't that kind of funny? Like your mind thinks you're a hermit, and your body's like, I'm a networker.
Yeah. I mean, I always have that. Like, I like being around people until I don't, and then I need to go and recharge by myself.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
being by myself. I really enjoy my own company.
yeah. So, I mean, as you're in this chapter of wanting to open up to a life partner, it sounds like,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
um I would say that I mean, to know these things about yourself and like have some way to remind yourself to come into that moon place, powered fire fountain to commune with her on the regular, and know that the right connections are going to come through networks, and also know that whoever is right for you, like, is going to be someone who is like, who loves this about you, this, like, that you don't need the other. And you'll be there, right? How does that feel?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And that I've always known. Like, I've never been, you know, people are like, why aren't you, you know, you never got married. Why didn't you get, I'm like, because I've never been one to want to be in a relationship just to be in a relationship. Like, I don't even understand that. Like, I have zero desire to do that. That sounds more draining to me than being by myself. And I just haven't met the person, you know, that, you know, has been that person, you know, who can, and like you said, like, most guys can't handle, you know, they're like, well, you don't need me. I'm like, no, but I want you. And to me, I feel like that's even more like, you know, the one thing is an active choosing. So it's definitely been a struggle that personally
Yeah.
you know, like, you're so strong. And I'm like, I'm really not. I'm like, I'm an egg shell. Like, I'm hard on the outside, but inside, like, I'm all mushy and gooey.
You're super juicy for sure. I do want to share with you about your emotions a little bit before we go. There's one thing in there. Oh, there's something coming up for me just around openness, you know, that, you know, with this experience you're having with me of, you know, experiencing your wellspring fire fountain and being able to recognize the places where you are not, you know, it's not you, understanding, you know, the network thing, the single definition, that this is so you can start to lean back into that, let it hold you, let it guide you, so your mind can just be open. You don't have to put up protections and be like, oh, is this person right or is this person wrong? Or, you know, I think they're right for me, but they're not open to me. I'm too powerful for them. It's actually, it doesn't even need to be your business. You know, back to what I said earlier, like, she does not need to know because she is like, she naturally will be navigating this. And the more open you can be to what is coming to you, then you can fully experience him when he touches your sacral, just with his energy field, even through the internet, you know, that, like, she'll tell you and she'll guide you in that.
Yeah.
So that you can let go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I want to give you a little just intro to the emotional system. This is your authority, which is ultimately how you are meant to correctly make decisions for yourself. And so you have the sacral responding all the time, and your sacral can respond to the wind, you know? It also responds, like, in relation to others really well with questions. Like, you're meant to be asked, you know, like if someone comes in and is like telling you, that's probably not going to resonate with your sacral, even if they're right.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, it's the asking that actually gives you access to feeling her.
Right.
So that's going on. But then you have this emotional wave. So you have consistent ups and downs.
Yeah.
And this is so important in how you make big decisions. But big decisions would be considered like where you work, what you do for work, where you live, who you love, those kinds of things. And anything that feels big to you counts. If it feels big, it's enough. So basically, you have a consistent shifting range of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need time for your big decisions.
Yeah.
You need time to go through the wave and
Mm-hmm.
experience it so that you can have clarity. Even if you could guess, like if you had a psychic and they're like, this is the right thing for you, and you went and did it based on that, not based on experiencing your sacral response over time, it wouldn't work.
Right.
There's no divination in that way. Like you have to live it and feel it. And then the clarity is like, it's going to be a mixture. You will have had a mixture of responses over time. You know, it'll be yeses and nos. And your clarity comes when you have a majority. Like 70% of the time it was yes.
Right.
And then you can move forward with that. And I have seen this a lot with emotional people. They don't trust their clarity because there was like a presence of no's.
Mm-hmm.
And then they loop back around on their wave because they're thinking that they have to have like 100%. How does that land for you?
Yeah, it definitely takes a bit of time for me to make a decision. And once I do, I do.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm not like when it comes to big stuff, I do mull over it for a while. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, done, move. Got it.
Cool. Yeah. Then you can slice, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's also good to know, because I saw something about emotions and boundaries or something on your page too. It's good to know that there's a 50-50 split in emotional and non-emotional people on the planet. So 50% of the people, when they're in your aura, will be amplifying your emotional wave. And they may be a not self with that.
Uh-huh.
So I am non-emotional. And I used to get super tossed around in other people's waves.
Mm-hmm.
Like that I was like, I thought I didn't like emotional people. But I didn't know how to handle myself when I came in touch with that frequency. And especially if I was with an emotional person who was not in touch with their wave. So there's like this joke in design that like the not self-emotional person is just like deadpan.
Uh-huh.
But on the inside, they feel like a crazy person on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So I would pick up that frequency and then I would feel crazy. You know, now that I have done as much deconditioning as I have, and, you know, I'm like, I can be grounded or I can walk away and get out of that person's aura for a while if that's where what my body does.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just good to know that, you know, if you have somebody freaking out in front of you, they probably have undefined emotional system. And it might help for you to just walk away from them for a little bit.
Right.
If not forever, if they're overall not good for you. But it just might be good to get a little space.
Yeah.
So you can feel what you feel without like this other person distorting your shit and projecting it on you.
Yeah. So is there like a write-up to explain like what each of these like on each side?
Yeah. There's this program that I'm using is online. And I actually want to switch to another one because I want more information from another system. But this one's a great one because it's called the Talking Body Graph, and it's mybodygraph.com.
Mm-hmm.
And there are really affordable upgrades you can get that you just have forever, that then you can go and listen to different information like recordings.
Uh-huh.
But even just the free version, you can click around and learn the basics.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend sticking with the basics for a while, which would be definition. So that would be understanding like the different centers and also the dynamics of having them defined or undefined. And then strategy and authority are everything, especially when you have an undefined head and ajna. If you start diving into information before you are really getting solid in what your strategy and authority are. So strategy for you is wait to respond.
Mm-hmm.
And authority is emotional, and that is time to make big decisions, waiting for clarity. There is one other little aspect to being a manifesting generator that we don't have time to talk about today, but those two aspects of your strategy and authority are a really good place to start.
Okay.
Because the mind will get a hold of that manifesting aspect and just like run with it sometimes. So really listening and experiencing your sacral response is like pretty core.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I guess I'll drop in the one aspect about the manifesting part of your manifesting generator is that, so manifesting generators are designed to move quickly and skip steps. Mm-hmm. So like a pure generator like has this kind of plodding quality to them. They go through all the steps.
Yeah.
Manifesting generators like skip around. Sometimes you'll have to go back and do steps you skipped.
Yeah.
Don't tend to like doing that, but life.
Yeah.
So that quickness of you is that, you know, when you're on the move, so you're moving from response and, you know, have clarity over time for the big things. Then there's one other step you can take before, even if it's right before you're on the move, when it is to inform the people that it involves.
Mm-hmm.
And that just gives them a little warning so they don't like freak out because they don't see you coming.
Uh-huh.
And it can just make things a lot more peaceful.
Okay. I just had to take that in.
Yeah, and it could be like, even like, hey, I want to tell you something. Like, just give them a little heads up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or I'm moving to this town, Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever, you know, whoever it might concern, just inform them.
Uh-huh.
But that's after going through sacral response and your waves.
Right.
Helpful?
Yeah. 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 I mean, I just need to like kind of take it all in and like understand a little bit more about, you know, what each thing really like. Yeah. I'm very visual too. So like seeing it in writing to understand like what each of them means. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay. Like I guess like my takeaway right now is like, okay, I just need to continue to develop and connect into, you know, whosever language you want to use, like whether it's, you know, Mama Gina, where she talks about, I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's all about like connecting to, you know, she's like, just connect to your pussy. And,
yeah.
you know, that wisdom there. You know, Kyle Cease talks about like you're deep down, like, you know, but it's, you know, which is true for everybody, right? I mean, that's like.
What do you call it for yourself?
I mean, I'd prefer like my deep down.
Yeah, I gotta hit my body when you said that.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that I prefer a little bit more.
Yeah. And then like there's the way you described it from your ayahuasca ceremony, you might have even a more, you know, personalized.
Yeah, that's like a bigger thing. It's just like there's a connecting deep down internally, but then it's also like connecting with like the whole. And like for me, it's why I love doing ayahuasca. Is like feeling like it's just getting plugged back into the whole, even though I know I already am, right? But it's just like I don't know like how to explain it, but it's like I guess it would be, I don't know if this works, but like when you're going around life, you're going on Wi-Fi, and sometimes you can go in and out of the network. But if you're connected to Ethernet, like you're plugged into the wall, and like you have a solid connection to the network. And that's, I feel like for me doing ayahuasca is like just gets you plugged back into the network and gets like the, you know, everything faster. Yeah, so it's just connecting back to that.
Do you want to hear what I call that?
Yeah.
Popping out.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, this power center is, I mean, you know, it's always going on. but then you also forget.
Yeah.
And that's what I call popping out, because like, it's like, oh, well, I have this question in my life, or someone's asking me a question, or I think I need to know something. Let me pop out. Because the mind's like, you know, you'll see people, you probably see this in your coaching practice, they start looking up, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like not out there. So like, it's really just, there's also this metaphor that came up in this last week for me that's like, when you go, God, take the wheel, and then you like grab the wheel.
Yeah.
And then you're like, why isn't this working? I surrendered to God or whatever. It's like that with your sacral response and your emotions.
Yeah.
So I would say like even more important than knowing more would be to have a few things that remind you of what you're reminded of here in an ayahuasca ceremony, and like, you know, put them in your environment or get a tattoo or whatever it is you do. To come back to that when you want information.
Right.
Because it's not, and that's gonna keep you looping.
Yeah.
And what I like, the message I got every time I did ayahuasca, and I like almost died a couple times, was that it's just, this is the same as life.
Mm-hmm.
It is the same. And my mind kept going, it's a shortcut, it's a shortcut. And yeah, it did serve to like really rattle me, but I had to take myself all the way down to almost dying a couple times.
Yeah.
And then to go, I don't want to learn this way anymore.
Yeah.
Because it was showing me that's how I've been living, right? Is like, I have to have these extreme things to wake me up and remind me. And I'm tired of it.
Yep.
So what are some ways that you might remind yourself to do you have some, or I could also help give you a little guidance and like an assignment?
I mean, I meditate every day. I do breath work every day. You know, I think I generally like go into that place, like, you know, just connected. Like, for example, this past weekend, so I met with my accountant today. I got an extension on my taxes. So I met with my accountant today. And like Saturday, I started to go into like a surge of energy. I call it a surge of energy. Other people would call it anxiety, right? And I was just like, oh, wait a minute. I'm like, I just need to first just like do what I tell my clients, just acknowledge, accept, and allow that these feelings are here. And like, I'm okay with that. And then just, you know, do breath work until I can feel, you know, my nervous system calming down. And then I just, like, I just Byron Katie the crap out of it, you know, and I just go through, it's like, is it true? Is it, you know, is this belief true? You know, and then I'm like, who do I need to be to, you know, if my higher self is present, okay. So that's a general process that I go through, you know, when I get in a place that's off kilter. It doesn't happen that much anymore of getting off kilter like that.
Yeah.
Pretty grounded, which was not the case for, you know, years ago, but
yeah.
like I'm able to really regulate the emotions and not get like worked up by stuff like I used to. So I don't like I feel like I have a pretty good process at this point, you know, to not like, you know, just to connect back into that place.
Where do you feel you are on your wave right now? Do you feel like you're high, low, in the middle, coming out of a low, coming off of a high?
Up until February, I was in a low. I was in a really, like, you know, I had to go through some stuff. And so out there, I feel like it's just getting higher and higher. Like, I feel like I'm on the precipice of something really big right now.
Yeah. Yeah. You're climbing.
Yeah.
Well, I have a little assignment for you if you would like to sit with it. It's to, name this. Name your deep down.
It's funny, as soon as you said that, the first thing that came to me, and I, you know, again, you don't know why, my grandmother's name was Dorothy. And She died when I was 8, but she was of the grandparents, the one that I wish would have stayed around longer. But she's always been a guide for me.
Mm.
And anytime I've done ceremonies, not every ceremony, but like if there's guides that come up in ceremony, it's always my grandmother and my daughter together, like they're hanging out together.
Mm.
And so I don't know. So that just came up.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what that is either, but my authority is just like ringing in my whole body. I have like full body chills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For whatever that's worth. So yeah. Would you like to, be in this process of naming your deep down?
Yeah. I mean, that's what comes to me right now. So
yeah.
Feel around
cool.
it.
And then, the reason is so that you have something you can reference in every moment.
Yeah.
To connect, to just plug direct in, because you don't actually need like all these different strategies. I'm not saying that they don't help or they haven't helped a lot in the past. They haven't gotten you where you are, or they won't get you somewhere else. But ultimately, like, you get to just live that, and it gets to walk you around and talk you, and,
Right.
you get to find out what it does in your body.
Right.
That is your life.
Right.
And yeah, it's your birthright.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is interesting. I'm curious to learn more, because
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's been so lovely being with you. And, if there's anything else, just reach out. And if there's any other way I can serve you,
thank you.
here for you. Do you have any other questions or any concerns?
No concerns.
Yeah.
How, and if you want to tell me this now or after you stop the recording, in what way do you work with people with this? Like, is it just like a one-off thing like this, or like, what does that look like when you're working with people?
I work one-on-one, and I also have groups that I do, for people who are wanting to work relationally. So I have Becoming the Gift You Are. Enrollment's closed right now for that, but it'll be opening up in May, and that's a monthly membership. And then I also do packages of one-on-one coaching and design guidance.
Mm-hmm. So, and what does that look like? So it's like basically like it's like you have this blueprint, and then you will help them according to their blueprint, essentially.
Are you calling the chart the blueprint?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my whole stance is that all you need to do is become who you are. Mm-hmm. Or allow that. So it's the way it happens is really different depending on who it is. Mm-hmm. But yes, I use human design as a tool to guide us, for us to each be in who we are, to reveal where we're being who we are not. Uh-huh. And to experiment with that and gain experience in being who we are. And so sometimes, like with using the chart, and like it's on, I forget that it's on, like I want to turn it off right now. Mm-hmm. Especially with people with undefined head and ajnas, like I'm withholding information and holding an experiential space because that's how you really learn, is to experience you. My type is that I'm a projector. Mm-hmm. And my aura penetrates into auras of people like you, and I pick up your life force and I amplify it. So I'm designed to be a guide. Mm-hmm. And it's said that generators are designed to be like, they need to be guided. Their life force needs some direction. So actually, like, my type has only been on the planet since the late 1800s, and we're not going to be here any longer at some point. So one of my teachers called us projectors a patch in the program.
Mm.
So yeah, I know it's not like a really clear answer in a way, but like I need to be recognized and invited
Mm-hmm.
to guide people correctly, and then I find out with you what comes through me, you know. And in my life, I just work my tools and work with my coaches and my clients. So
Gotcha. Okay.
I feel really like I'm really passionate about the group spaces, which is why I also joined Allison Crow's group.
Mm-hmm.
There's a quantum aspect to the groups and us really learning how to relate while being ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That I think is super important for what's happening on the planet right now.
Right. Cool. Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to absorb all this, and then I will, do what I do. And
Would you like me to shoot you a message when it pings on my radar and check in with you?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Awesome.
Bye, Heather.
Much. Bye.